Dave here with Lonesome Outdoors. This will be my first video up. I've recently tried to sort of make a go of it with other platforms, some on Facebook and mostly just on my personal page, just educating my friends, and a little on TikTok, but I keep getting pee-pee slapped for my content, so a bunch of my friends on Facebook told me to go ahead and start a YouTube, sort of get some of this knowledge in my head out to maybe some people that could use it, maybe some people that could need it, maybe some people that were like me a few years ago that didn't have any idea. So I'm going to go into a mission statement here, but first I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I'm not an expert. I believe no one's ever an expert. You can be good at your craft, but the minute you think you've got nothing else to learn is the minute you've lost at whatever your craft is, because somebody's going to surpass you. And saying that, it makes it sound like a competition. It's not. It's just never stop learning. Never stop being open to the ideas that maybe something that you thought was maybe the best, maybe something's changed, maybe something's better now. Maybe what you thought 10 years ago isn't as great as it could be as what's come out now. Sorry, I'm rambling about that. So let's go ahead and get into the content and the meat of what's going to go on in this channel. I'm an avid outdoorsman. I've worked with horses down in Georgia. I had a little horse farm. We moved up to Billings, Montana, and we'll get into reasons as to why later. But it's a big benefit to me because I get to hunt more things. Down in Georgia, it was mainly just hogs and white-tailed deer. And they weren't very big white-tailed deer. Our hogs were bigger. So if that tells you anything. So my main purpose is hunting, fishing, outdoorsman stuff, camping, some shooting. I'm a huge ballistics nerd. We're going to talk about ballistics. We're going to talk about reloading. And let's see. Eventually, we're going to get back into horses and horses in the backcountry. We're renting right now until the market goes down, so I don't have room for horses, and I refuse to board them. I sold all my horses in Georgia to a person that could keep them in a facility that was actually like, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with boarding places, just not for me. I'd rather have my horses out in the pasture, and then they can come and go as they please into the barn. Maybe not so much here. You may have to put them up at night, especially when it gets down to -30, but definitely like to have my horses not cooped up and have them drive over to them every other day to make sure they're okay. I like to walk out in my backyard and make sure they're good. That's just my prerogative. I could be wrong, or we could disagree, but I'm not going to argue with you because I don't argue on the internet. So anyway, a little bit of background on me. I started shooting at 18. I didn't grow up in a very gun-friendly household. It wasn't unfriendly. It was just my father said that there was no use. He had no use for them, but he had nothing against them. I have since argued the point my entire life, like, hey, you probably could, and now he's starting to come around and think, you know, he's traveling around with my mom in an RV during their retirement, that maybe he does want a gun inside that thin door RV. So he's come to me with that. Background and knowledge, obviously shooting since 18. At 23 years old, I joined the United States Marine Corps as an infantryman. And during that time, I was obviously an infantryman. Focus is around shooting. And I was expert all those years and range high a couple times. And then I became a designated marksman. Designated marksman, for those that don't know, is like a diet sniper, or sniper light, as the snipers that trained us told us. We were not snipers, we were diet snipers. We hadn't earned that title, and I won't claim to have earned that title. I was just a faraway shooter person. So, so at 10,000 yards, and for those that know, the minimal qual in the Marine Corps for just your basic rifleman is 500 yards. So those are my formal training. It's mainly military, and just for 12 years now, I'm 30 years old, of hunting. And one thing I was noticing with a lot of my friends who are younger, because when I joined the Marine Corps, I was 5 years senior to the bulk age of guys who joined at 18. So a lot of my friends were younger, and I ended up becoming friends with their friends. And anyway, I went shooting with this young guy once, fairly recently. Actually has nothing to do with the Marine Corps. He just works with my wife and wanted to come shooting with me. And he had an AR-15. And I don't have anything against AR-15s. I like them. I don't own one currently that just feels like work. The way I like to describe it is if you drive an F-350 every day for work, are you going to want to drive that F-350 as your personal vehicle? That's how I feel about AR-15s. I mean, they're great guns. I don't necessarily agree with them for taking deer, but unless they're in a larger caliber than 5.56, that's just my prerogative on it. But they're great guns. When I pick it up, it feels like work, and I shoot to have fun. So anyway, there's my background. AR-15's kid, right? So he got it zeroed at 25, and then he couldn't quite hold on paper at 100. And I was telling him he could reach out to that 300 yard, and he was at our range was steel out at 300 yards, and he's like, I don't think I could. I was like, I assure you, you absolutely can. And he was having trouble holding it on paper at 100 yards, and we had to get into like respiratory pause and basic fundamentals of shooting. And this is a 20-year-old kid that hunts. So I realized that maybe you don't know anybody, but I have since run into several people that they just weren't taught, or they were just kind of given a gun and told to wing it. So I'm here to hopefully, for those guys that were given a gun and told to wing it that haven't quite figured it out yet, maybe I can answer some of your questions. Some of you more seasoned folk, maybe I'm just spouting old news to you. But I appreciate you watching nonetheless. So all right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. Marlin, 1895 GBL. This is a late Remlin, so it actually runs pretty well. Obviously empty. Check beforehand. I believe Remington, right towards the end there, really started to work out some of their quality issues. And this thing, I've fired hundreds of rounds through it, and it has not given me one single problem. I love this thing. I got it threaded for a muzzle brake that would accept a suppressor. I was planning to suppress it, but then life gets in the way and you move 2,000 miles away from your original home. Things happen. So I bought this in 2019 at Dick's Sporting Goods in Dunwoody, Georgia, of all places, for $450, and it's probably making some of y'all sick right now, thinking I picked up a 4570 for under $900. I think the newest ones made by Ruger like are retailing some places for like $2,000. Like I saw one for $2,000. I was like, you gotta be okay. So I got my little $450 and plans for this thing. Obviously, do a straight pull stock on it. I noticed that I just prefer straight pull stock. I like Winchester 1894s. I have a Winchester 1894. I'm gonna show on the channel as well. We're gonna work up a load for it. And I like straight pull stocks, and we're going to do a straight pull stock conversion. I noticed that nobody has done it on YouTube that I can find for this gun, because I think a short barrel. All the straight pull stocks seem to be the long, like 26-inch barrels with the straight pull, or something. I really like a flush magazine tube and a straight pull in a 4570. I think that would just be the happening thing. So that's going to happen with this thing. We're going to put some Ranger Point Precision stuff on it. We're going to work on the Skinner sights. This Skinner sight is sighted for 325 FTXs. Does all right. Like I showed that kid when I was out at the range with him. Back to that story was he didn't think he could ring it at 300 yards, so I broke this thing out with some 325 FTXs and bear buster front sight and a Skinner sight and rang that steel at 300 yards. And I was like, that little bottleneck 5.56 can definitely do everything this thing can do and more as far as distance wise, as far as knockdown stuff, transferring of kinetic energy, all that stuff, foot-pounds of energy, maybe not, but definitely accuracy wise that 5.56 is leagues above this thing, and just the way it is. But nonetheless, this is my favorite medium range. I'll call it medium range, 200 yards game rifle. This is my favorite. Well, out of all the brass I've collected over the last 2 years, I had the most brass with this. So most brass with 4570. So I shoot it a lot. I've taken several deer with it with the FTXs. Very good round for whitetails, at least in Georgia. Not so much for Georgia hogs. I actually had better luck on Georgia hogs with the standard old Remington trapdoor safe soft points. 405 grain. I don't really think 400 grain is really your sweet spot for the 4570. So today we have loaded up some Cast Performance hard cast. These are a Brennell hardness of 22. These are gas checked solids. They're bear loads. I'm in Montana now. I'll be doing a black bear hunt in May, so I want something that's good for black bear, but also won't have trouble with the charging grizzly. There's the round, gas checked, very flat. Very good for cutting through, bones and tissue and really thick layers of fat on a 1,000-pound animal that wants to eat you. So I've loaded these up with Alliant Reloader 7. Now I'm having to do some digging. It does say 44570, but there's not a swath of information on it. Mainly the information I had to do was digging through forums and bringing up old subjects that hadn't been talked about in probably 5 years. With some old timers that gave me some recipes. So basic is to start at 38 grains, but I was told 40 is still very safe. So I loaded up 9 with 40 grains of Alliant Reload 7, and then the guy who I was talking to was telling me that 42.5, he can shoot about 6 of them before his shoulder gets tired, but he didn't have any velocity readings for me. He only said it was grouping pretty good. And 1,700 feet per second is my aim, is my goal for this round. I want it to be pushing 1,700 plus. Because that's your magic zone for 45-70, especially for 400 grains. It really starts grouping really good, really starts reaching out there a lot better at 1,700 feet per second. So I loaded up a 42.5 grains as my hotter loads, and we'll see how they do. I got a chronograph, going to set it up at the range out here. I'm going to take you with me. We're going to do some shooting. We're going to see some numbers, and we're going to see how the 40 grain does. Maybe that's my load. How the 42 does. Maybe that's my load. Maybe I need hotter. Maybe I need less. But 1,700 is the goal, and so that's what we're going to run with. Hope you guys enjoy. Okay, I don't know how well y'all are going to be able to hear me. It's pretty windy. But we got the chronograph set up downrange. Finally got it working right. This is my first time using a chronograph. And my first test shot was 1,500 feet per second, 1,518 to be precise, with the 40 grains of Reloader 7. I'm going to fire 3 more of 40 grains Reloader 7. And then we're going to bump it up to the 42.5. But 1518 is still pretty good for this old girl. So let's go ahead and see what she can do. $16.99. All right, that's shot 1, I think. Save our brass. Oh, shot 2. $15.75. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I was 1,500 feet, 1,575 feet per second. So that's the 40 grain loads. Those are doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. But anyway, oh wait, we got one more. $15.18 again. All right. All right. So let's step it on up to the beans. That's what I'm talking about. Put a half cock. All right. Let's hope it doesn't blow up. I'm gripping the front. This thing's gonna come on. $16.03. 16.03. $16.16. Pick that up later. 1596. There we go. Now, just for S's and G's, I got an FTX sitting in here. Let's see how it does. $1,943 feet per second. That's moving. Damn. Let's try another one of them. Maybe that was just my chronograph. $19.24. Two more pieces of brass for the reloader. So afterthoughts on the range day. So obviously we did not hit our target velocity of 1,700 feet per second. That's okay. The chronograph, so I don't have a tripod for my chronograph. So I brought a table with me, a folding table, and went to set it up directly in front of the bench, but it was sitting about 8 inches lower than the bench, so it was right in front of my muzzle. So I had to move it about 30 feet out to where the ground kind of came back up and shoot from there. And ended up, I did put up a target just for S's and G's, and I ended up grouping pretty well, but I was mainly focused on not hitting my chronograph with an untested load. But like you said, so the 40 grains running about 1,600 feet per, no, in the mid 15s. My bad, I'm sorry. The mid 1500s were the 40 grains, and then the 42.5s were running right at 1,600 feet per second, which is about 100 shy of where I want to be. That 1,700 feet per second magic zone. So anyway, like I said, I wanted a gun that I could take with me black bear hunting, and also protect against grizzly bears. And you know, a gun that'll punch a good hole in an elk or a muley, but probably gonna end up with 30-06 on an elk hunt or my bow. So anyway, this thing never ceases to amaze me. I love the 4570. Like I said in the beginning, I was able to ring steel with it out to 300 yards, which is a pretty big ask out of a 16.5-inch barrel. Out of a 4570, you typically want to get a bit longer barrel for that, get your velocity up. I know the Sharps guys out there in competition, they shoot out to 1,000 yards out at the Quigley Shoot here in Forsyth, Montana. I hope to attend next year when I finally get a Sharps, and I'm going to go 45-120 and really get good with it. I've shot 1,000 yards with scopes most of my adult life at this point, and it'd be really cool to do it with an old school black powder, long barreled cartridge. So that's the goal for that. But yeah, so we're gonna work up by fives, like that old man that gave me the recipe online. He's probably been reloading longer than I've been alive. So that 42.5 was about as much as he'd want to go without hurting his shoulder, but it's not stressing it by any means. And I'm not seeing any signs of stress in the cases. But then again, I don't want to blow my gun up, so I'm going to move up in small increments of 0.5. And with Alliant Reloader 7. That's what I was told. Alliant Reloader 7, it's quick burning powder. It's really good for these short barrel 4570s. Maybe it's not the powder I want to go with. Maybe I want to go with Varget. Maybe I want to go with Reloader number 10. But like I said, there's not a lot of data on Reloader 7 online. There's nothing in the manuals about it that I have. Maybe there's somebody out there that can tell me, but I'm pretty sure the max load is 45 grains. So that's what we did today. It grouped well, shot well, didn't kick too bad, not as bad as some other loads I've pushed through this. I've gotten some wild cards from some folks that 550 grains, 500 grains. I know there's a guy on here that did a 600 grain video. I don't know how fast it's moving, but you're running out of case capacity at that point. I really like a 400 grain. I think that's really good middle ground. I know a lot of guys for bear defense run 500 grains, but in my school of thought is a good weighted, like good median, like 400, and speed is what's really going to stop that brown bear. And a brown bear will stop with a 10 millimeter, or hell, a good placed 9 millimeter with a hard cast. So as long as you're moving and you're cutting through bone and tissue, that's really the goal there with big old grizzlies. So yeah, that's the closing thoughts on it. We're gonna do a lot of work on this. It's gonna get converted to a straight pull. I noticed that there's no videos out there converting these things to straight pull, so you're gonna come along with me on that adventure. I'll show y'all how to put a straight pull on it. We're gonna put some Ranger Precision parts on it. This loading gate for one, and then we do straight pull. We're gonna get the Ranger Precision big loop for straight pull, and then eventually a suppressor, and probably work up some subsonic loads on this. And then free floating the 670 barrel, 35 Whalen. Gonna do a 30-30 video. My buddy who served with me is coming to guide school with me, and he wants to yeehaw so bad he can't stand it. So I'm giving him a cowboy gun, and I'm gonna work up a 30-30, and I'm gonna load it as hot as I possibly can with a hard cast gas check, just like this. And hopefully that'll be enough for a grizzly bear. I think it will. A 30 cal moving probably 1900 feet per second. 150 grain hard cast. I don't see that having any problem against a bear skull. So, and there's that. And work on the 44 mag a little bit. And we're going to get into horses. And then we're going to get into, obviously guide school. And then, I don't know how many more times I'm going to say that. Some product reviews probably. And then just basic outdoorsman stuff. Some fishing in the summer. Because it's we're about to start fly fishing here soon, hopefully. And, catch, cook, clean, kill, butchering deer, all of it. I plan to cover all of it on this channel. So I hope you guys like and subscribe. Follow along. I'll make a Facebook for this. And we'll just go from there. We'll see where it takes us. So anyway, I believe that's it. I believe that wraps it all up. So hope y'all have a good rest of your day. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. It was a whole hell of a lot of fun. You guys go out there and do all those good things I know you're capable of, because we could use a lot more kindness in today's times. Hope you can hug your mamas. And